Hey everybody, I'm Jim Majors, atheist leader, public speaker, and host of the YouTube channel Disciple of Kairos. And you're watching another great video by Atheist Edge.
One point that I just wanted to interject about the religious text. I know you were kind of mentioning that there's some things that are kind of problematic about the Satanic Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've talked on the show quite a bit about the problem with divine text and how, if it's going to be presented as something from a divine being that's supposed to be timeless, then it needs to be timeless. It needs to be something that's relevant today and that doesn't have to be qualified and put in the context of this time or whatever, it was written in this time by these people. No, if it's going to be relevant today, if we're going to follow it as a religious text, then it needs to rise above the time that it was written in. Mm-hmm. And I think what's really great about the Satanic Bible, I haven't looked at it at all, but you're not making a claim like that it's a divine text. And so it doesn't have to transcend the time it was written in.
Exactly.
So,
we can recognize the good parts and then be there's a couple good parts in there, and then be we throw out the rest.
So if you're using it as part of an atheistic identification, then yes. So I guess my question would be, are there parts of the community that do use it as a
standard,
religious text, something that should be followed as a dogma?
The Church of Satan.
The Church of Satan very much does. They have other books that have come out by other people in the organization, but that's still their main
that's their go-to. So bringing it to TST, and then we'll come to us. So TST, they point to the Romantic era, and actually, and so do we. The Romantic era, they point to Revolt of the Angels as an informative book, but there are also a lot of informative books.
Milton.
And
Paradise
so.
Oh wow,
yeah. Even though Milton was a Christian, but
Milton was a Christian.
He did give
Dante,
Satan his.
Yeah, he created. You could say that. Yeah, he kind of helped create a modern idea of.
I think the main idea that he created in Paradise Lost was the idea of hell. But I mean,
or at least the details.
At least the details.
Yeah, the details they're not technically biblical.
Extra biblical for sure.
Yeah, they're extra biblical, but they've made it into Christian culture.
Oh, yeah,
You'll be
yes.
wait a second, that ain't in the Bible.
It's become a trope. This is what hell is.
That's Christian pop culture from the olden days, basically.
Let's find in my English class in senior year of high school, I wrote we read multiple texts throughout the year, and the end of the year project was to write something that pertained to one of those texts, and I combined The Stranger, which is a French book, with Dante's Inferno, which we had also gone over, and it was sort of the character is somebody who is executed for murder at the end of the book, and I sort of brought him through Dante's Inferno as my little short story project.
Oh, wow.
It was interesting.
That.
Yeah, I found it on my bookshelf a while ago. Yeah, I used to do a lot of writing, but it was really funny because I was just because I was a Christian at the time, and the conclusion to that was this sort of switch at the end where he wakes up from a dream and he hasn't gone through Dante's Inferno. And he hasn't been executed yet.
The fever dream trope. Yeah.
And so that fear of that converts him to Christianity just before his execution. And I sort of imply at the end that he goes to heaven.
Do you have that anywhere on hand? I would like to read that. It actually sounds cool.
Well, I wanted to ask because at the very top of your Facebook page it says immersive ritual community engagement and then left-hand path fellowship. Can you kind of go into a little bit what left-hand path means, how it kind of informs what you guys do?
You want to take that, or you want me?
You can start it.
Okay, so left-hand path fellowship. So honestly, that would be. We're using other people's language. For us, it would be satanic, but that left-hand path is a very broad umbrella, and so there are theistic Satanists, people who really believe in, are on the earth. Good for them. That's not us. But there are times when it's fun to come together, and so under the left-hand path umbrella, that's what we are offering. And so, kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, there is this with us being on one end of the spectrum for atheism and atheist community, there is some bleed over that starts to come in from the theistic community. And so there is some opportunity for that blending of community and fellowship. Our ideology is still atheistic, but under the umbrella of basically, us being spooky atheists, we can hang out with other spooky people and do that.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that left-hand path, like the traditional dichotomy is like right-hand path is like the good, the light workers, Christians or New Age stuff, and the left-hand path is like evil, sorcery, and darkness. And a lot of stuff is fun in movies. We all know there's no sorcery. I mean, we don't believe there's sorcery.
I gotta jump in.
Yeah.
I don't know if we keep this in or not. It's Jim here. Right hand, the word for it in Latin is dexter, like dexterous.
Yes.
Dexterous, and the left hand is sinister.
Oh.
The left hand was a curse.
Oh.
Huh.
Well, so just to clarify,
Those
is
movies
that
are scary.
the light? Is that like the angelic light healing thing that people do?
Yeah, I mean that's one example
Is that like
of
the other
something
side of it?
that falls under some people who are like
I like that
Wiccan. Yeah, some people who are Wiccan may
Well
consider
deserved.
themselves like right-hand path.
Okay.
We don't really follow that kind of
Unless
dichotomy.
you're a Christian, then you point at the pagans and laugh at them and say, no, they're demonic.
Well, a lot of
Everyone thinks they're the
evangelicals may think that Catholics are, following occultic practices. I mean, it really depends on who you ask. For us,
Tribalism.
yeah. For us, I'd say, left-hand path is like all about, we value carnality over
abstinence.
over abstinence, which is a good point from the Satanic Bible. We like
indulgence in the here and now.
We're very much living in the here and now.
fun. Yeah.
Versus the right hand path is very much like, positivity. We're looking for the hereafter, and we have this like high spiritual goal.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, well, we're just trying to get to a good place, whether it's like reincarnation or go to heaven, and we're like, we're in and of the earth.
Sadly,
Satan's kingdom here on earth. That's just us existing. Yeah,
I mean,
this
it's
is
the only place that we know of.
Yeah.
Right, for
So,
sure.
I mean, make the best of it.
Yeah, and we do put a lot of emphasis on, we Satanists like to study. We like to become very educated in the things that we're interested in. A lot of us consider ourselves Satanists are generally pretty clever. They're kind of the outsider sort of figure, trickstery. It's we're a little bit naughty, and that's fine.
I like that.
We're
I like that.
and I don't mean that in a weird way, but just generally.
Why should that be weird?
Satan is like the ultimate naughty figure. Like, he's like the, he's the
bad boy,
rebel.
yeah.
So we are a little bit rebellious, but, not rebels without a cause. Yeah. So I think
very
that's
well
kind
said.
of.
Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else you got?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Well, I wanted to ask, this might be a weird curiosity thing, but whenever I hear about a Satanist from any of the varieties of Satanism, they're never going by their actual name. They're always going by some sort of name that sounds very satanic, like you were talking about how you derived your name. Is there a particular, maybe a specific reason, like a specific role that names play in?
I'm allergic to copper and lead when it's fired at about 1,500 feet per second. We
Freedom seeds. Yeah.
We
Wow.
quite literally. So this is actually a serious subject. We get death threats specifically.
Yeah.
Us.
Oh yeah.
A lot, and some of our, and to protect our members too.
Our members have been called out on Facebook, literally. And so, like, I've had to reach out to the Garland police and say, hey, this gentleman lives in your district, and he, I'm sending screenshots, and like, your citizen has just threatened by name to kill my congregant. We need to talk. And so we have actually, so a lot of our events are not hidden, but we don't
you can
have,
find the location, but it's not publicly available.
you're going to have to go through a few layers to find out where we meet and do things.
Yeah, and it's just for safety. I mean,
It
our
is a
right to practice
Yeah.
as Satanists is constitutionally protected, both just in the public sphere, at work, like, we are allowed to practice, we're Americans, we have the right to practice whatever religion we want, we're peaceful people, and all that, we're not doing anything that's bad or
Yeah,
against
in
the law.
fact, and again,
harmful.
Nothing harmful.
We're leftist progressives, so you know everything's like ecologically sourced and
Yeah,
fair
we
trade
have
and all that.
gluten-free options at the communion, literally. So we're really nice. We
There's no sacrifice
yeah,
of
like our
anything.
congregation, we have soccer moms, we have students, we have literally anyone you can imagine. Like all of the people that are in our community. It's just they're just normal people.
I love
But
that title, gluten free.
yeah, we have fucking gluten-free wafers. I'm serious. Come to our
That's
event.
awesome.
You don't want to get you have celiac
We have an
disease.
alcohol and
You won't get a rash from our
non-alcoholic,
wafers. Yeah,
option.
non-alcoholic options. A lot of
I
people
love
don't
it.
drink
What
alcohol in
fun
our
is
group.
that?
So
How can you be
yeah,
indulgent
but
if you're not
unfortunately, some people who are super far right wing don't acknowledge those constitutional protections. So they want to take it upon themselves to be like judge,
Do the
jury, and
Lord's
executioner, do the Lord's work. They're filled with that religious zeal and not in a cool way at all,
Well,
and they just want to like shoot Satanists.
I mean,
So yeah.
there's some sects out there that are like more libertarian leaning. They have some conservative values too, but they're super focused on separation of church and state, where they're like, we do not want any government involvement in our religion because we want to do whatever we want as a religion. We don't want the government telling us what we can and can't do. And so I think that we can find allies even among theists. I mean, there are groups out there that are like, hey, separation of church and state is really, really important.
As long as they're not touching children.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the Catholics are going on about separation of church and state.
No,
really.
but we've had Muslim and Jewish allies before. Some progressive Christians that have come to our events and like are friends with us. Like we have a lot of family and friend members who are atheists. I think Satanists and the pagan community have always been natural allies, witches and because we've all been traditionally like on the outs, and we have a lot of aesthetic stuff that is really in common. So I think that there's a lot of commonalities there.
But getting back to the point, the reason very specifically for me, I'm out to my employer, I'm out to my family and all that. So everyone who knows me outside of Satan world knows. But I do kind of keep that separation because we do get tangible threats, and and then also as a partner to our when the Crossroads Assembly goes to do an event, I don't want our our venues to be protested, and
Yelp reviews count. We don't want anybody hurt.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to lose business because we want to go hang out and give them business.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we don't have an overtly satanic name when you just hear it. Because if you hear like so and so is hosting the Crossroads Assembly for an event, you probably assume it's a church. Because it sounds like an Assemblies of God church.
But if Dark Lord Blood Satan wants to hold a fundraiser,
he comes flapping in on his dark wings, dancing style.
That shit doesn't.
So you feel like it adds a layer of protection.
It really is.
Beast.org.
The devil.org.
But we don't show up in cloaks everywhere.
Oh, not everywhere.
Just sometimes.
Just sometimes.
He's not a fan of cloaks.
Yeah, so that's one of the main thing. So for it's for different people, different reasons, and
And not everyone uses a demoniker.
Right.
The moniker. I see what you did.
What does that mean?
Like instead of a moniker, like a demoniker, because it's dark.
No, I know. But like, what would that be?
Oh, if you wanted to join a satanic group and you didn't want your legal name associated, and you wanted to be like, I don't know, a dark blood mistress raven.
Oh.
Something like that. That would be your demoniker. Not that I would recommend that name, but
It's taken. No one steal it.
That's hers now. But yeah, other people, like a
someone
pseudonym.
just gonna shout out.
Yeah.
Someone inadvertently just gonna
Dark
shout
blood
out.
mistress raven is like, say what?
Getting the vapors.
Yeah. So what else?
Well, I was kind of curious because getting back to something we were talking about earlier, there's the combined principles of individuality and living for yourself, making yourself fulfilled and actualized, and there's a notion of community outreach, which would seem at the face of it to be at odds with one another in some sense. And you kind of talked a little bit about taking care of yourself first and then taking care of the community, but I could see where there would be situations where those two principles could be in conflict with one another. I guess push comes to shove, is one of those more important than the other, or is there ways that you help resolve that conflict when it comes up?
So kind of two-part, because I do want to go back to the documents, because what we preach, and I say that very, big asterisk.
Right.
We ain't preaching, but what we do rally around. So yes, the individual is, your birthday is your most important holiday. You are the most important person. You're a god. Everyone's a god. I'm Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the beat.
Yeah.
So it's and I recognize that. And so if we can sit here together and we can accomplish something together, great. If you've got something else you need to go do because it's going to impact your life, then do that. Take care of that first. And so we've had situations where members are like, I'm going to have to take a step back for about 6 months because I got stuff I need to take care of, work, family, whatever. And I'm just like, do that.
That's encouraged, yeah.
Right.
We would never want somebody to sacrifice their personal life.
Exactly.
For
so there's
church
that. As an organization, I make no bones about it. We are, as Von Leeuwenhoek said in Children of Lucifer, hearkening back to the romantic Satanists, who weren't Satanists, but the Satanic school, as it was put. We are, radical and decidedly leftist, and that's us. And so we are very engaged in our community, because my liberation is not complete until people who are oppressed are also liberated.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm not free until everyone is.
Right. We've got trans people being shot in the street here. So trans rights are important to me. They're American citizens. They should be afforded every damn right.
They are.
Well, and I want that protected, and that's cool. It's important that we be there to support the community. And so, the early Satanists of the 60s and 70s, 80s, and even to now, those who are like, might makes right, and if I'm strong and that's what matters. My personal belief for myself is my might is used to make right. If I have money or authority or power or something, and I can affect a situation, then that's what I should do. I use, so I'm half Mexican, but I'm white passing. So I use that to my advantage to help not just myself, but to help others, because that's to me that's important. I hate Satanists. Satanists are assholes. You
guys are lovely. I wouldn't say that anybody that I know that identifies one, which is at least you two here. I wouldn't say that at all.
Yeah.
You guys are lovely people.
Yeah, she is. I'm an asshole.
You can still be lovely and be an asshole. It's cool.
It's true.
And so, after a few months of being with the Satanic Temple, they were like, oh, okay, I was contacted specifically. It's like, oh, okay, we're going to need you to lead the Dallas chapter. And I'm like, cool, I can do that, but we're going to need to include Rose in this. And they're like, oh, well, we have this lesser. I was like, no. They had a lesser position. And I'm like, no. This, now that I've been in this organization for a while, it's really kind of cock heavy. It's really white. We need a little diversity here. So, so I insisted, that I'm not going to take leadership unless Rose has leadership, and that's not me protecting or trying to create any sort of, voting majority or anything like that. Dallas just really needed the feminine touch, if you want to put it that way. And so for me, you need community representation if you're going to work with the community. And so our community is diverse. We try to maintain that diversity. We're going to be marching in the Pride Parade, which will already be over.
yeah, it's our third time
Yeah.
participating in Pride because and we're not there to like make it about us or because
No.
I see some groups, that make a criticism of satanic groups is like we are trying to make Pride about you or it's or get attention. I'm like, no, we're just our community here is very LGBTQ plus, very very diverse. We have people of all gender identities. We have people of all sexual identities. So we're in and of the community, and we all want to show that we're here. We're
to support
that and be in and of the community.
And we'll be marching as well.
Awesome!
Yeah. So we're actually joining with Fellowship of us as in Metroplex Atheists. Is joining with Fellowship of Free Thought in Dallas to do the Dallas one that's the most recent one.
Yes.
So we'll be in the parade as well.
We'll have to say hi to each other.
Yeah, we should try to find each other. We found each other at the parade, and we all shook hands.
Boothing.
And we had
it was at the festival like in 2017, and we met then.
I came up to the tent and I was like, "You guys are badass! Hello!" I was super excited because I'd never met anybody that was part of that group, but I had heard of it, and I really we haven't really gotten into this very much, but I really appreciate the role that the satanic groups play in making the kind of statements and having the kind of voice that atheist groups can't.
That's again, speaking of that spectrum of engagement and activism, we held last week we held a roundtable with the LGBT
the LGBT atheists and free thinkers group.
And free thinkers, and the question comes up, of course, why Satan? Why Satanism? And because they're allies, they're atheists, and they're like, but why would you take on Satanism? Because I just as Johnny Cash, he wanted to take on a little of the sorrow and the pain in the world. That's why he wore black. Yeah, so the man in black. The same thing with us. We live in a predominantly Christian society. They have privilege. They have authority. As much as we're fighting that on all fronts, there's nothing wrong with also being just a little visual reminder that, I'm here.
Yeah.
And so that's what, to me, that's what Satanism is. It's that opportunity to also, because we can be atheists, and if I show up to work in suit and tie, then I just blend.
Yeah.
It's not my goal to blend. I literally wear all black to work, and everyone knows me as that person, and they know.
I think it's great that you make that distinction of hey, we're here, and because that's what you've heard my talk, and I shout that from the rooftops, like, hey, we need to let people know we are here,
and to follow what you were saying. I conduct myself professionally. That's the thing is, if I were slacking and if I was a jackass at work,
it's not a good look.
Right.
It's not a good look.
No. So if my success at work, I can be successful and I can do all these things and still be that person.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And
Maybe not so bad.
Yeah,
you start to change people's opinions.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And you're showing a level of fulfillment and prosperity and success, despite this narrative of like, without Jesus and without God, you're going to live this life that's not worthy, or not worth living. And that's a big narrative that comes out of a lot of like Christian organizations, of this idea that when you lose God's grace, you lose kind of like life fulfillment. So it's really nice to be that example of being a complete, satisfied, moral, successful person, and still have these other identifications.
Part of my philosophy is you should exile strawmans of yourself before other people get a chance to burn them down.
Well, and see, that brings us back around to what you were saying, is by being the example. Oh, what did you do this weekend? Occasionally you'll hear the joke. Did you sacrifice anything? No, actually, we raised funds for the SPCA or something. You know, we were engaged in our community. We went to a protest, or we did this or that. So community engagement and how you engage your community, we try to provide it as a focal point. And for those who can, great, and for those who can't, we still provide that community. They still have a home with us. They don't have to, but again, if you got to take care of your shit first, take care of your shit first. So, does that get to what you were?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you have an interesting point about how originally Satanism was really like the whole concept of like the American. That's good. You should bring that up. The whole.
Okay.
This is good.
So,
this is good, y'all.
some of us are prior military, and so we are. I'm patriotic as shit. I'm crazy. I love it.
Obviously, patriot.
Right.
Yeah, so the American flag comes in.
I love it. And Satanism of the 1960s was very much an American religion. And I want someone, and I know that there are people, Joe Laycock and some others are studying Satanism academically, and so I'm curious. I'm eager to hear what they have to say. To me, Satanism of the modern pop culture brand,
Americana.
It's very American. So this whole idea of John Wayne, the Marlboro Man, is the American. I can rugged self reliance and all that. But let me tell you,
pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Right, but the West was not won by a gunfighter and a trapper. It was families. It was people moving out west. It was a community, and that's the American myth. The American myth is that the rugged individualist is what won America. Yes, but also no. And so Satanism is very much that might makes right. I am the strong, and I'm going to be, the best, and that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That's the American myth you're telling.
Yeah.
So to me, Satanism needed. Satanism is rooted, as we mentioned, back in the Romantic era, in the Age of Enlightenment. Thomas Paine was an atheist
and an abolitionist.
And he used Satan as a metaphorical tool in his
a literary
writing.
device. And
Right. So just like Shelley, Wollstonecraft, writers of Hugo. All those writers were using Lucifer and Satan as this tool, as a symbol of rebellion against monarchies.
They were throwing down kings.
Well, because they were trying to point to a thing that people recognized.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's what we try to embody, is this idea of rebellion against authority figures that take it too far. Right. So it's not that I want to destroy, all power structures. No, you need,
some structures, like we were saying, are useful.
Exactly. I still want the roads to be paved, and I still need the fire department to show up. So so I need that. But that's how we are a little more, like I say, leftist and progressive in our Satanism, and we're you can be a rugged individual, but you also live in a society. That means
we live in a society.
Right.
Yeah, we're not trying to get Banksy here,
right. but so there is that communal aspect, and so it's not enough to just don't be a dick. But can you also offer a helping hand when necessary, if possible?
Yeah, that's
good
maximum.
Right,
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, and we're very anti-traditionalist, and we don't care about gender norms. We don't care about societal norms or anything really. I mean, we're just, as long as people are being, nice to each other, and we.
Again, my liberation comes with
that's why we're absolutely like pro LGBTQ liberation, and like I said, most of our community is very diverse, and we are absolutely for the rights of anybody who's marginalized or oppressed, because Satan is kind of like a good beacon, a good emblem. Satan, Lilith, Lucifer, all those archetypes, they're very like Promethean in a way, they sacrifice
yeah.
and they I mean, he ruled against like this, you know, there's this absolute like monarchy, this horrible ruler and like the god figure, and he led, you know, half of heaven, or however much percentage of it was, to a third, third, and you know, he led this revolt of the angels.
It's the tyrannical father.
Yeah,
It's the
against
tyrannical father, and we have in some way a moral responsibility to rebel against that. Anyways.
exactly.
So it's you draw a good distinction too, though, because it's like, yeah, Promethean, because yes, that's the way I view Satan or Lucifer or whatever that figure that you want to draw that distinction with. I see that as more of the important aspect, is that he gave humanity critical thinking. He taught us how to like pull the veil down off our eyes and to see the reality around us for what it was.
Yeah, stole that fire from heaven, brought all that beauty, knowledge, liberation, all those really important things, even though it's just a symbol, it's just a story.
Oh, yeah.
But humankind is, you know, we base so much off of archetypes and stories. And think about how much we get from Shakespeare and from all these different, I mean, and it really depends like what country you're in and like all the different stories that come from that really build your culture. So that is a very human thing. I think Satanism is a very human experience, and it's not for everyone. I don't think you should convert. We don't try to convert anybody to Satanism. Everybody who finds us or groups like us, it's because they see something and they're like, I recognize me in that. I think I can jive with that. I'm going to be me, going to still be me as an individual, but I think I'll hang out with these people for a bit because it's more fun hailing Satan as a group than just by yourself.
That's interesting of like Satan as sort of like the liberator of Eve. Is that what you guys kind of talk about?
So, you know, honestly,
It's just what kind of popped in my head about like Tree of Knowledge and stuff.
She has a group that she would like to mention, a shout out for in New York.
Yeah.
Oh,
close.
yeah, we've
okay.
actually, some of our comrades in New York, so they left around the same time that we left the Satanic Temple, most of the folks from New York, the New York group, and now they are the League of Rebel Eve, which is real fun, or LORE for short, League of Rebel Eve, and I was like, such a fun, it's a fun catchy name, so
that is great.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that name, LORE, in Star Trek Next Generation?
The evil Data.
Was the evil, like, liberated, non-conforming Data? It was his brother.
Yes,
So it's
I forgot
actually
about
a
that.
very good parallel.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that was
They
like,
love
no,
Star
I'm not
Trek.
going to
It's
fucking
good.
follow all this bullshit. Like, I'm going to be me. Like,
Data consented to go to court. Lore just
no,
made
it was
his
like,
own-
no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Satanists are really into that, like, fully automated space luxury communism and all that, so right on board with that. Probably not your favorite thing, but
No.
that's okay.
We can talk about that in this
Yeah,
place.
a post-work environment and all that, that's fine.
The idea of the knowledge bringer, and that's in a lot of cultures, and so we don't just limit ourselves to Satanism, we acknowledge myths of all sorts.
Yeah, Persephone is the queen of hell.
Yeah.
The head bitch in charge of hell. Like, why not? Like, that's a badass figure, right? Why not have a feast in her honor?
I don't know anything about any of this, so this is all really
Yeah.
good to me.
It's also fun.
It is. And